Hello, people of the world. Tom Brown here. How you doing today? Just dropped my daughter off at the bus, and I'm heading into Home Depot for more stuff. I got the shed installed yesterday. It was supposed to have been installed the day before, on the Monday, April 4th, but apparently they had the installer double booked, and they said that they were going to be there, because I called in and I said, hey, nobody's called me yet this morning. I mean, are they showing up or what's going on? And they said, oh well, no, he's on another job right now, and I'm going to call him and have him call you and let you know when he's coming. And then he called me a little while later and said, oh yeah, I'm just wrapping up this job and I'll be there at your house probably around 12:30. Well, 12:30 came and went. Long story short, he didn't end up showing up until probably 6 o'clock at night. And he called me a couple times, kind of hinting around the fact that he wanted to not, come and maybe come the next day. And I had no problems with that, other than the fact that my backhoe rental is due to be picked up the next day, and I'm not sure if they're coming in the morning or what. And I'm not sure what time the backhoe is going to be picked up. And I needed the backhoe there so I could put my lithium battery into the new shed, because that lithium battery is like 600 pounds, and there's just no way I can move it myself. I mean, I could have rigged up a way to move it, maybe like get some rollers or something, some pieces of cut conduit, and like some 3 or 4 inch pieces, and lay it down and kind of roll it a few feet at a time and all that kind of stuff. But I would have had to buy conduit to do that, and I would have, it's a big fiasco. So I told him the situation, and he actually was nice enough to come out at 6 o'clock, showed up a little after 6, and I helped him build the floor. All he had to do was put the floor boards together and put on the 2 pieces of plywood on top of that, just so I could set the battery on the floor, just in case they came early in the morning to pick up the backhoe. I would already be done with the battery. And so that's what happened. And I'm not real impressed with Tuff Shed, and I can tell you I'll never buy another Tuff Shed again. There's other manufacturers out there to choose from, and I'd probably just build myself, actually, because after seeing the type of materials they used and just the quality of the installers, I have nothing against the guy. He was a nice enough guy and everything, but I've been in construction industry since I was, all my life basically, but I've been in it like full-time steady since like 1998. And I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to like the quality of the work and how you're supposed to do things. And the guy that showed up was pretty much the opposite of that. They're supposed to cut, the kit is supposed to come out all cut, like all the boards cut the right lengths, and so that it doesn't have to break out a saw or do anything like that. And it just comes with like the wall sections already built, and to make it like a quick install. So the first thing that happened was they didn't show up when they were supposed to show up, so they double booked the installer, and that was an issue. The second thing that happened was when he did get there at 6 o'clock at night, and I had everything ready to go. I had all the lights I had a light out there, a really nice bright light. It was still light out when he got there, but by the time we were getting finished, it was dark. It only took about an hour because he didn't have to do any site prep or anything. I already had the slab in. He didn't have to level the ground or anything. He was able to back his trailer right up 10 feet away from the concrete slab that the shed was built on. And so anyway, so what happened was there was all the boards, floor 2x6x8 treated posts that go for the floor base. All of them were 8 feet. None of them were cut to length. And then he's like, "Oh man, these are supposed to all be cut. I don't know what I'm gonna do." And I'm like, "What? I mean, they only have to be shaved off. A few of them only have to be cut a few inches." And he's like, "Well, I don't have a saw." And I knew right then when he told me he didn't have a saw that it was going to be a fiasco. I mean, you don't install wood buildings all day long and not have a saw on you. I don't care if everything's supposed to come pre-cut and pre-measured and everything. I mean, you're working with wood buildings and nothing's going to be perfect. So he didn't have a saw. I'm like, okay, well, I have a saw. You can borrow mine. And so I got my saw out. And then when he started to put the boards together, when he got his compressor out and he started nailing the boards together, they were crooked. And he just went boom, 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 like ran around and nailed. I'm like, no, dude. I said, we're gonna take these apart and we're gonna pound the nails out and we're gonna make it straight. I said, it's not that hard. You just line up the edge of the board with the other edge of the other board, make sure they're square, no gaps, and then you nail them together. It only takes an extra 30 seconds, or not even that, for each seam or whatever. And I kept having to tell him, hey man, you didn't nail this side, you missed that. And it was just, I'm not impressed with Tuff Shed at all. And then the other part of the thing that really was kind of like an eye-opener, and I told you before that I priced it out to build it myself, and it ended up being about $3,000 for the material and everything, with the trips into town and gas and all that. But the shed that I had priced out was, it was like a box, 8 foot by 8 foot by 8 foot tall walls with a regular pitched roof and good siding, half-inch T111, all this normal stuff you would build a building with. And what they brought out was, like, I want to say, in my version, it's like a knockoff of real building lumber and, real building materials. Their siding was it was OSB like T111 siding style, but it was like 3/6. I don't even know if it was 3. It might have been 1/8 inch, or it was really super thin. It was 3/16, I think, is what it was. And and it just, the tar paper. It wasn't even tar paper. It was like some sort of weird vapor barrier. It wasn't Tyvek or anything like that. It was some sort of like roll cloth underlayment for a roof. And the one thing that really kind of ticked me off was, I had other stuff to do, but I had to, when they came back the next day, because all he did the one day was build the floor. He was there about an hour. He took off. He was nice enough to do that, so I appreciated that. But when he came back the next day, when he started taking all the materials off of his trailer. He was like scraping everything, and he wasn't being careful, and the stuff is already painted, and it's already thin as a freaking fine hair as it is, all the lumber. And he's like pulling stuff across, like finished walls, and scraping it, and gouging out the corners of the trim. And then one of the sections was like literally cracked in half, like a big old 12-inch crack. And he's like, oh, the warranty people, they'll come out and repair that later. And I said, dude, this is a joke. Are you kidding me? This is a joke right now. I said, so, he had his helper, this big fiasco about how he had to go in town and get his helper in the morning, and the guy wasn't there, so he just gave him the address. I said, you know what? I said, why don't you get a hold of your helper? He ain't here yet. I said, maybe he can pick up a sheet of plywood or whatever you call this stuff while he's in town, and he can just bring it out here. He's coming out here anyway, or I'll go get it if I have to. If you want me to go get it, I'll run and go get it. I don't care. But I don't, you were supposed to be here yesterday. You weren't here yesterday. You're here today. You don't have the right tools on you. You don't have a helper. You're bashing this stuff up as you go. I was just, I don't know where they find these guys or whatever, and I'm sure the guy is a hard worker. I have nothing against him as a person. He was there. He works every day. He's a hard worker and all that. That's, good for him. But, I'm paying for a product, and, I may be picky and kind of like a perfectionist, but trust me, what they were doing was literally anybody on this planet would have not been happy with the install and the quality of the work that was going on. I had to sit there and supervise and make sure that everything done that they were doing got done right. Not just the way that I wanted it, but got done right. Like I went I had to make a phone call. I came out and I noticed that he was having problems with his compressor or something, because none of the nails were going in as far as they should have been going in. And I noticed on the roof, on the plywood, that the sheets of plywood that they had on the roof, it's like a barn style roof. There's like 4 corners, or 3 corners, 4 sides. There was what they call shiners, pieces, the tops of the nails that don't go into the wood all the way, or don't go flat against the wood. They stick up a little bit, and they were sticking up quite a bit. I mean, at least a half an inch. And I saw probably just on the one side of the shed. Remember, it's an 8x8 shed. It's not very big. It's like, not even 2 pieces of plywood for the roof on one side. They weren't quite 2 pieces of plywood. And just on the one side, I saw like 6 or 7 shiners, nails sticking up out of the wood a half inch. And I didn't think nothing of it. I thought they just boom, 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 just tacked it up real quick just so they could do something else, and they were going to come back and sink them in. And I went inside. I didn't say anything to them because I thought I'd give them the benefit of the doubt. And I ran inside for something, and I came back. I had to go get a tool or something, and I came back like less than 5 minutes later, and they already had the roof covered with that underlayment stuff for the roofing. And I just got up on my ladder and I started feeling around with my hand, and they did not sink any of the nails in. And I don't know, who out there in the world of building and construction thinks that that's okay. I mean, you're talking about the roof for the building. And it gets really, really hot in Arizona, and when it does get really hot, the shingle roofing that they use, it's tar and granules, and it gets super soft, really soft when it gets really hot. And with nails that are sticking up a half an inch out of the plywood on the roof are gonna they're just gonna work right through the shingle. So at that point I basically took over. I'm like, you know what, guys, this is ridiculous. I said, did you notice the nails here? I mean, you build these things all day long, every day. So I pulled off the paper that they had already covered up, and I just started hammering them in. I have a nail sink, and I just started hammering them in and sinking them in. And it took me literally probably 5 minutes to do the whole roof. And, they knew that I was upset, and it was one thing after another. The building wasn't square. He had to borrow my tools all day long. I should have just built the damn thing myself, because I basically did. And so I haven't called Tuff Shed yet, but I'm going to be making that phone call. It seems like I've been complaining a lot about, just not getting materials and getting overcharged for things and yada, 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 and, But let me tell you something, people. I work hard every day. I don't cut corners. I make sure things are done right. It may take me a little longer than somebody else to do the same job, but when I'm done with it, you ain't never going to have to touch it again. It's going to be done. It's going to be done right, and you can forget about it, because you ain't going to have no callbacks. You're not going to have any issues. I mean, everybody makes mistakes. Every once in a while, something happens that slips through the cracks or whatever. That's just a matter of, the nature of the beast. But I don't know what is going on with people and their quality of workmanship and their customer service, and it's just, the list goes on and on and on and on. I mean, I don't know how we are all just turning a blind eye to what is going on in the world. Everybody's so afraid of offending somebody or saying the wrong thing or whatever. And I mean, it's getting to the point where it's just out of control and it's out of hand. People need to man up, woman up. I don't know how you say that, and they need to get back to square one, get back to zero, and then start from there again. Because, I mean, the problems are just getting more and more and more issues, and they've got us so trained to not ever say anything to anybody, because you might hurt somebody's feelings or you might offend somebody or whatever. It's like that's just something that has been driven into our brains to turn the situation into what it is right now, to make everybody like not want to say anything to anybody else, walk on eggshells all the time because, you might offend this person or that or this. It's like the real world, how reality is supposed to operate, is there's tough times and tough things that happen, and the way that people progress and grow stronger in their personality and their abilities is by overcoming the problems, by making a mistake and overcoming that mistake by suffering the consequences and not doing it again. That's how people learn. That's how everybody in the world, for as long as people have been on this earth, have learned and grown and sharpened their skills and become a better person, by screwing up, realizing that you screwed up, accepting the fact that you did something wrong, and making the adjustments to not do that again. that's how it works. That's how everything works. You know, some people learn by watching other people make mistakes, which, you know, those are the lucky smart ones, I guess. And some people learn by screwing up themselves, and some people just don't learn, you know. But it's gotten to the point where nobody's progressing or getting any better at anything because nobody wants to accept any responsibility for anything. Nobody wants to think that they've ever done anything wrong, or that what they're doing is wrong, or they've made a mistake. And that's just not the way that it's supposed to work. So anyway, the shed got built, you know, it's there's still things on it that I've got to fix, that I'm not real happy with, but it's done, it's there. And I'm, like I said, I'm on my way to Home Depot right now to get the rest of the hair. You want my dang dog? Here. You want to go? No. You can go down that. Here, go down that window. There you go. There you go. Come on. Put your head out. I'm gonna whine about it. Anyway, so my wife, I told her last night, I said, well, honey, you'll be happy to know that that you don't have to take the kids to the bus tomorrow. I'll be doing it. And she said, well, why are you going to do it? I said, well, I got to go get more parts. She said, well, why do you have to go get more parts? I thought you have everything. And I said, well, now that the shed is built, I have to go get all the little parts and pieces. I said, you think that I know every little piece and fitting that I'm going to need for all the plumbing and all the electrical and all the stuff like 2 weeks in advance before it's, you know, it's ready to be installed? You know, I could have done that. I could have sat down and thought it through and had every little part known to man handy. But if you've been in construction, you know that you kind of have to do it in a stepwise progression because things change. And, you know, just like with the trenching, if you got to go and then you have to turn a corner or you go a different direction, then you need different elbows and stuff. You know, I don't have a store of parts at my house, on my property. You know, I have to do it step by step by step. And the way that I have been doing it is I have a plan and I know what equipment is going in, but I don't know exactly how I'm going to hook every little thing up until I do it. Because just like yesterday, I had to call the soft water people, and I asked the guys, like, hey, I got the shed in now. You know, I've got the shed in and I'm getting ready to move some equipment in there. And so can you basically tell me the specs that I need to be aware of? Because I tried looking online. I looked everywhere online to try to find specifications or an installation manual, something like that, for the model number of the soft water filtration system that I had. And you know, it's like coveted information or something. The company that I used doesn't want to give out that information, or I don't know what the deal was. But anyway, anytime I went on a website and they actually had it listed, like, oh, installation manual, blah, 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 and wants you to call, you know, they want you to get in touch with one of their consultants for a phone consultation. So basically, they don't want to give you any information until they sell you something first. But anyway, so that was kind of irritating. So I ended up having to get a hold of my salesman and just basically said, hey, can you point me in the right direction, or send me like a PDF file or something of the manual so I know what all the dimensions are of everything, where the water inlet and outlet connections are, so I can put the pipes at the right height inside the shed. And he still didn't, you know, he's like, well, I'll just have the installer call you. So anyway, that was fine. At least I got the information that I was after. And So after talking to him and figuring out how much space they need in the shed and what side the inlet side is on, what side the outlet side is on, what size are the incoming and outgoing lines that I can use, what pipe size I have to use. And I mean, I kind of knew, I pretty much knew that it was 1 inch, but I didn't know which side the inlet side was on. I didn't know what side the outlet side was on. I didn't know how close they needed to have the valve. So there's no way I can really get every part and have everything I need on site when all those little pieces of information kind of trickle in. You don't just know what every elbow is going to be and where everything's going to be from starting from scratch. So anyway, so I'm going again to Home Depot. I wrote a list last night. I made a diagram of where all the equipment's going to be setting inside the shed, and I made a diagram and a list of parts. So hopefully this will be a quick trip, because I don't have to sit there and stare at all the rows of fittings like a deer in the headlights wondering what I need. I know exactly what I need. I made a list, so I'm just going to go in there, grab it, and hopefully be in and out quickly. And I'm here